Am I the asshole for not disclosing I had plastic surgery to my boyfriend? I, 26F, have been dating Max, 25M, for 4 months. When I was 22, I had a nose job as I broke my nose twice as a kid and it left it with a large bump. Then, at 23, I had a breast augmentation that bumped me up 2 cup sizes. These were lifelong insecurities that I was bullied over, and it was really relieving to get them done. On to the present, I met Max through a friend and things have been great. Last night, I was strolling through my social media while on the sofa with him. I stopped on an old classmate's vacation photo, where she wore a bikini and frankly, had very obvious implants. She looks great, happy for her. But you can tell. Max glanced over at that moment and said, "Gross." I asked him what the deal was, and he said women who get implants or other surgeries are a huge turnoff to most guys, and how men prefer natural over 2 balloons and how insecure she looks. I couldn't help but laugh and said, "So you're turned off by me?" He got very confused and asked what I meant. I informed him I had procedures done before. He kept denying it and saying I was joking until I showed him old photos of me. He got quiet and left shortly after. I got a text saying I should have disclosed this on the first date, how I led him on and that he needs to reconsider things. It's the next day. Haven't heard anything, I'm bewildered. Am I the asshole? Edit. Alright y'all, I got a text from him a few minutes ago asking to meet up, as he thinks he wants to continue the relationship and wants to talk things over. After all these comments and some thinking, I sent back along the lines of his reaction made me realize he's not the partner I'm looking for, and that I've decided to not continue our relationship. So yeah, I'm single now, kind of confused if I should mention this to future dates before we're official to weed out any more like him. How do you even bring this up? Oh well, I like me, I'm content with my natural and unnatural parts, and I'll find someone who doesn't have huge hang-ups on plastic surgery. Edit 2. I just woke up and there's no way I can reply to all the comments I got overnight. But thank you to everybody for your opinions and thank you to everyone who's wishing me well. I am sad. We had plenty of good times in those 4 months and I was hopeful about this one, but I'll be alright. Time for a few self-dates to cheer myself up. Not the asshole. You lucked out that he showed you this side at 4 months in. You could have been married before you found out he's this shallow, misogynistic. Edit. Assuming women take most men's preference for natural breasts into consideration when deciding they would like breast augmentation as a misogynistic viewpoint. Or indeed that men's preference for anything should matter at all to a woman deciding on her own aesthetic. Edit 2. He was physically attracted to her. His dislike of cosmetic surgery has nothing to do with what he is physically attracted to. What about hair plugs? Is that mental health red flag? Not the asshole. His reaction and comment that you should have disclosed this on the first date makes him childish. Not the asshole. You shouldn't have to disclose your medical history for someone to date you. Am I the asshole for not telling my parents about the award and that I won? My 20F sister, 18F, when she was 12 years old, was diagnosed with cancer. Because of this, my parents became almost completely absent from my life, as my sister spent a lot of time in the hospital or undergoing chemotherapy. So 70% of the time I was alone or just being ignored. My sister was cured of cancer at 15 and things are back to normal. My parents, always absent in my life for everything, not just school, interfered with our relationship. In those 3 years, they never knew my grade, any game I played, anything related to me. If I showed up with blue hair, they wouldn't notice at that time, and I tried so hard to get their attention for 5 minutes. Burr eventually just gave up. It's okay, they were focused on my sister and I get it, but yeah, I created a life independent of them. My parents even tried to get closer and we have a closer relationship, but it was never really the same. I don't have a close relationship with my sister because we don't get along so well. But even so, they never expressed an explicit interest in what I do. I managed to get into college. Currently I still live with them, but I intend to move by July next year. I pay rent and for my share on the bill, groceries etc. Recently my scientific work in college competed for an award at the state level and I was super happy. The award did not take place in person and it was by Zoom. I ended up winning. It was on a Wednesday. On Friday, me, my boyfriend and friends went to celebrate for dinner. My boyfriend and friend posted things congratulating me. On Saturday, before I went to work, my parents came to talk to me, asking about the award and if I had really won. When I confirmed it, They started asking how I didn't invite them to see the award and how I could hide something so good. I just replied that I didn't think they would mind honestly. They started complaining, but I said I had to work. Later, my sister texted me saying that I broke our parents' hearts by saying that and that I was really punishing them for something in the past that they couldn't help themselves. My parents are distant from me and my sister is still calling me an asshole. They never really showed interest in my stuff or asked anything, even after, which doesn't happen with my sister. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. This might be a wake-up call for your parents that they needed. Truth is harsh sometimes. Not the asshole, they've normalized this reaction you have. You can't be held accountable now when they've changed their outlook on life. Maybe with time you can become closer if you want, but don't worry about that and enjoy the thrill of the win. Congratulations. And your sister is the asshole here for sticking her beak in. They don't get to choose to care about this one thing after 8 years and somehow expect you to either know or even think about a given past behavior. Congrats op on your award, not the asshole. Not the asshole, and I would tell sister they have literally never shown any interest in me or anything I have ever done. I have felt rejected by them my entire life. Why would I set myself up for more rejection now? If they feel differently, then it is up to them to express it and show interest, otherwise, how would I know? Am I the asshole for how I responded to my dad and stepmom trying to force us to watch their wedding video? I'm 14 female and my brother is 10 male. Our dad has been with Carol for close to 2 years and they got married in early November. Carol hates us. Especially me. She calls me a problem child, and is always picking at me, being rude to me. She constantly compares us to her daughters, constantly picks fights and tries to parent my brother and I. She yells and calls us names when we have to go over. If one of her daughters does something to us, like taking our stuff, she just brushes it off and laughs. And our dad just lets it happen. We have no choice but to see him 4 times a month because of he and our mom's court agreement. But we hate it there and we hate Carol. So we didn't go to their wedding, even though Dad was super pissed and fought with us about it for 2 months after we told him we weren't going. So we skipped the wedding. Last Sunday he picked us up like usual and drove us to his house. I noticed right away they were in a better mood than they have been lately. Carol was blabbing at us about their honeymoon in Florida. When we got to the house, Dad announced they had something to show us and for us to go sit in the living room while he got it. Me and my brother went and sat down, but we both had a bad feeling. The girls were nowhere around, which was weird. Carol came to sit on the other couch and she was just staring at us, looking like she'd won something. And my dad comes in with a Blu-ray disc and puts it into the player, and sits with Carol. And Carol says in this happy bitchy voice, "This is since the 2 of you missed it. You can see what you missed." It started playing and we realized it was a video of their wedding day. A few seconds in, it was edited to a clip of them saying "I do" and kissing. My brother saw this and started to cry. And I just got so mad. We hate Carol and that's why we didn't go in the first place. She wasn't gonna force us to look at it now. So I grabbed my brother's hand and pulled him up off the couch and said we weren't gonna watch this. Carol sneered and said we had no choice. I told her she'd never be in charge of us no matter how much she wished she was and told my dad we were leaving. I admit I shouted this part. She told me to stop being a little bitch and I shouted back that she's a big fat bitch who should know better. Rude, I know. She shouted at my dad, "Are you just gonna let her talk to me like that?" And Dad just kind of laughed? And said he wasn't dealing with this and went to his room and locked the door. I took my brother to get his stuff on, grabbed my bag and left, with Carol screaming at me most of that time. IDK most of what she was saying, it was too loud and screamy. I started walking with my brother down the side of the road and called Mom on my cell to come get us. We walked about 10 minutes before she met us on the road. Dad is mad at me, Carol is pissed, but IDC. Mom is upset only because she thinks I shouldn't have walked my brother along the road. If I'm the A, it's alright. Edit to add. A commenter here told me I was a bad kid who was exaggerating Carol's rudeness, so I'll say here to read my comments so you can see the other shit Carol does. Not the asshole. Carol treats you poorly and your father does nothing to protect you from that. And it's understandable you would have an outburst like this. You're young and it's hard to deal with stuff like this when no one takes you seriously. All in all, I don't think you handled it that poorly. If you haven't already, I'd recommend sitting down with your mother and brother and explain to he why you both dislike going to your dad's. You're getting to an age where the courts may actually take your opinion into consideration for where you spend your time. Good luck and I hope it all works out for you. Sweetheart, you need proof she is doing this to you. Don't egg her on, but always keep your phone charged and recording. Next time she gets unreasonably upset, record it, and take it to your mom, who can then take it to the judge for full custody. Am I the asshole for telling my friend that he wasn't obliged to hang around my wife? My 29M wife, 30F, and my best friend Cyan, 25M, do not see eye to eye. Some backstory. My wife and I moved for my new job. Cyan was the cousin of a HS friend, so I was thrilled to know someone. We quickly became best friends, closer than brothers. In COVID, our job was in person versus my wife's WFH. Cyan is a very kind person. I think wife hated everything about Cyan. She thought he was too goofy and hated how he teased her. My wife takes things seriously, and she's a romantic, so things like date nights are a big deal to her. She hated when Cyan hung out even when I invited him. A few months ago I had a 4-month project across the world. I needed the promotion. My wife ended up needing surgery and she, unlike me, didn't make close friends here. Her friends, fam, were too far. She couldn't do normal things post-surgery and wanted me to come back. I complained to Cyan and he suggested that he pop on over to help her. He ended up doing a lot more and my wife heavily relied on his kindness. When I came back, it was like my wife flipped her switch. Things that were immature became playful. She constantly fell for his fish for compliments, and it was like Cyan could do no wrong. Cyan still hung out, but it was like he couldn't snap out of caretaker mode. The two of them are practically joined at the hip. When I went to work, my wife packs Cyan a lunch too, and his is a lot better than hers or mine. Cyan needs this or that or whatever. She showers him with attention. My wife can be overbearing like that. At a small party, I came with my wife and she immediately zoomed to Cyan and monopolized all his time. After he went to the bathroom, which was basically the only time she left him alone, I pulled him aside and told him I knew my wife was clingy and it was okay if he kept boundaries. He wasn't obliged to hang around my wife. I said it kindly. He turned red, told me I was an asshole, and stormed away. He left without saying goodbye to anybody but my wife. Am I the asshole? I told some mutual friends about this and most of them are on my side. They said Cyan didn't know how to stand up for himself, he was embarrassed. Cyan is still pissed. It kind of sounds like both you and your wife are in love with Cyan. In any case, it seems that you are unhappy regardless of the friendship, lack thereof, that your wife and Cyan have, and you also seem keen to fault your wife whatever she does. I think you are the asshole. This story has a lot of U-turns, but ultimately you seem to be pissed because somebody, I'm not sure who, to be honest, is not giving you enough attention, which is only an asshole move because when your wife was in the exact same position, you imply she was being unreasonable. Which sort of makes you unreasonable by your own definition. You are the asshole. He did a nice thing by checking on her and taking care of her when you couldn't. Now they are friends. You didn't like it when she couldn't stand him, but now that they get along, you don't like that either. Seems like they can't win with you. What do you want their relationship to be?